How are you feeling, Caitlin? And can you take us through what happened at halftime?
Yeah, I mean, a little sick, but I don't know. I tried to eat some applesauce, and then it just came up, and then everything else in my stomach also came up. So I thought I was gonna stay down, and then I found a trash can, thank God, and I haven't puked that much in a really long time. So, but then I feel fine. I felt light, so I was running around feeling good in the second half. But I feel okay. Obviously, I'm losing my voice a little bit, but I'll be good.
You just said you felt light. It seemed like you're having a lot of fun out there.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about your game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to shoot the ball a little bit better. I could have, even if a couple more go down. Not that I shot it like horribly, but other than that, like I feel like this is probably one of the best floor games I've played in a really long time. I thought I guarded really well, was aggressive on defense, got us into what we wanted to get into on offense. Found my teammates in spots to make them successful. So overall, I honestly thought I played a really good game, and the way we played as a team was great as well. And we got to keep doing that. And if we're able to guard like that, and limit the other team to the things that they want to do really well, I think we beat them on the glass. I think we made them turn the ball over more than they turned the ball over, and things like that. We're going to be really successful. So proud of our group for the way they responded.
It seemed like it was a little bit cathartic.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, would you say that that's fair? And just what does that speak to you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I thought, like the first quarter, I was like, wow, it's 10-12, like things like that. So, I mean, we persevered. We found a way to win. The third quarter, obviously, Kelsey, the fire that she kind of gave us and the run that we went on, I made it 3, and then I think that's when we found Kelsey in transition 2 on the layup. So that's kind of all you need sometimes in a game, is a little 8-0 burst, and kept our foot on the gas through the fourth quarter, held off every push that they made, and like I said, proud of our group. Thought we played really well.
Caitlin, I know we talked ad nauseum last week about you and Coach White. Third quarter, timeout, you go over and I don't know, it was a chest bump or a dap or whatever. One, do you ever have to kind of protect your coach in a moment like that? And number two, what does it feel like to just have that moment?
Up. She's had a lot of surgery, so I could have hurt her, honestly. But, I mean, she's fiery and competitive. Like, she shows passion too, and she hypes her players up, and like we were both just hyped, and that shit. Like, excuse me, my mom's gonna be mad about that. Hopefully, she doesn't see that. Oh, my mom, she's fine. But that stuff happens, and I wouldn't want to play for any other a coach that's just stoic like this. Like, I love that. Like, that got me hyped. Like, chest bump. I think Ty chest bumped me when I was going to the bench too. So, but I thought that was the story of the night. Like, just the energy and the emotion, and like it felt like we were playing for the person to our left and to our right. And some games are going to stink, and you're not always going to have it, but you can still always do that. And I felt like we could have even played better and shot better, but it was because we were connected and playing for each other that we found a lot of success.
Kind of on that same vein, just how important, kind of just for morale in a way, was it to have a complete game like this, especially after the 2 games last weekend?
I'm gonna say this in the nicest way possible, but hopefully it makes a lot of people just be quiet. Like, and I know there's always gonna be conversation, and I totally respect that, and I always understand that. But the world is like, the sky is not falling. Like, and that's the special part about being in the position that obviously I'm in and this organization is in. Like, there's always gonna be people that analyze every single thing that we do, and we would never change that. But I think people always make up stories about where our locker room is, or what my teammates think, or what I think, or what our coaches think. But this group is connected, and we hadn't been playing our best basketball, and even though we played it for 1 game tonight, that doesn't mean we are where we want to be. But it also shows what we're capable of and what we can do, and I think it spoke a lot to the character of the people that we have on our team and the people we have in the locker room. And it could be one of those where everybody comes out and is just still mad from the way we played, or thinking about themselves, but that wasn't the case at all. You saw how selfless everybody is on this team, and wanted to give for each other. So just proud of the group.
Speaking of that team defense, what felt most different tonight? That was a season low. You held them underneath 30 that first half.
Yeah, I mean, I think we held them under there. I don't know the exact numbers what Ryan and Gray combined for, but it was definitely less than what they had been shooting. I don't think either of them shot the ball as well as they would have liked, and sometimes that happens, but also they didn't get to shoot as many threes as they probably would have liked as a team. I think they shot about 20, usually they're at closer to 30, so just limiting attempts, like that's what you're just making things difficult on them. I think we cleaned up the glass better than other teams that have played them. Obviously, that's what they do really well. They get second chance points, they get points off of turnovers. We took care of the ball decently well. Didn't give them too many run out, just open points off of turnovers. So Thought we did that really well, and just our pressure and our tenacity. I felt like we weren't having to rotate and help as much because we were able to guard and keep people one-on-one in front of us. And I think we just had each other's backs. We're communicating. We switch up coverages and things that we were doing. And, you know, as somebody that's playing offense, like, that's hard, you know, when you're trying to run certain things and get different looks. When the defense is able to constantly switch because they're doing things really well, like, that's hard as an offensive player to understand what looks you're going to be able to get. So yeah, I thought we did all that really well, and like I said, still a lot of room for improvement, so that's the exciting part too.
Imagine carrying the weight of an entire sport on your shoulders. Every single night, every single possession, every step you take on that hardwood is analyzed under a massive magnifying glass. For Caitlin Clark, this is not a hypothetical scenario. It is her daily reality. Every pass, every shot, and every facial expression she makes is broken down, debated, and scrutinized by millions. The pressure is relentless, the expectations are astronomical. And just when you think you have seen every possible storyline, every twist and turn of her career, she goes out and delivers a night that nobody, absolutely nobody, could have predicted. It was a matchup that already had plenty of tension building up behind the scenes. The Indiana Fever were set to face off against the Atlanta Dream at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. But the story of this game did not start when the ball was tipped. It started days earlier in the toxic, loud, and unforgiving arena of sports media. Following a tough loss to the Portland Fire, the cameras had captured a brief, animated sideline exchange between Caitlin Clark and her head coach, Stephanie White. To anyone who understands the fiery, competitive nature of elite athletes, it was just a moment of high-intensity communication. But to the sports debate shows, it was blood in the water. The narrative began to spin out of control. Rumors of locker room division, reports of a coaching staff losing control, and claims of a deep-seated rift between the superstar guard and her head coach dominated the airwaves. Critics were ready to declare the Indiana Fever's season a disaster, suggesting the chemistry was completely broken and the locker room was in shambles. As if the emotional and mental toll of those endless rumors was not enough, Clark was also battling her own body. Leading up to the game against the Atlanta Dream, she was listed on the injury report as probable due to persistent, agonizing back issues. There was no mention of any illness, no sign of what was to come. She had spent the week doing her best to disconnect, telling reporters she had been relaxing, playing board games like Catan and Scrabble with friends, going out to dinner, and watching the NBA Finals. She seemed focused, refreshed, and ready to get back on the court. But the physical demands of a grueling season were clearly starting to catch up. When the game finally tipped off, it was a physical, bruising battle. The Indiana Fever came out with a defensive intensity that had been missing in previous games. They were locking down, rotating, and frustrating the Atlanta Dream at every turn. Clark was doing her part, orchestrating the offense and fighting through the physical defense of the Dream. By the time the buzzer sounded to end the second quarter, the Fever had put together one of their best defensive halves of the entire year, holding Atlanta to a season low of under 30 points. But as the teams headed to the locker room for halftime, the real drama, the drama that could have completely derailed the night, was about to unfold behind closed doors. Inside the locker room, away from the cameras and the cheering crowd, Caitlin Clark was in trouble. Needing a quick burst of energy for the second half, she reached for a simple, everyday snack, a packet of applesauce. It is a routine many athletes use to get some quick, easily digestible sugars into their system. But on this night, her body violently rejected it. In an instant, a wave of intense nausea hit her. She described the moment later with brutal, unvarnished honesty. She said she tried to eat some applesauce, and then it just came up, and then everything else in her stomach came up with it. It was a violent, exhausting episode. She admitted she had not thrown up that much in a very long time. In the high-stakes, high-adrenaline environment of a professional basketball game, a sudden physical collapse like this is a nightmare. As the minutes ticked away and the teams were called back out to the floor for third-quarter warm-ups, the broadcast crew noticed something was wrong. Clark was not out there getting shots up. The rumor mill instantly started spinning. Was her back injury acting up? Was she injured? The broadcast soon confirmed she was dealing with a sudden illness, but nobody knew the graphic reality of what had just happened in the tunnels of the arena. Any other player might have called it a night. The back was hurting, the stomach was completely empty, the throat was burning, and the body was utterly exhausted from throwing up. But Caitlin Clark is not like any other player. Instead of staying in the training room, she found a trash can, emptied her stomach, wiped her face, and walked right back out onto the court. She would later shock reporters by explaining that, weirdly enough, throwing up actually saved her night. She said she felt light. All the heaviness, all the tension, and whatever bug had been bothering her was suddenly gone. She was running around in the second half, feeling incredibly good, completely reset and ready to destroy whatever defensive game plan Atlanta had prepared. What followed in the second half was a masterclass in resilience and toughness. When the third quarter got underway, Clark looked like an entirely different player. She was flying around the court, playing with a raw, kinetic energy that completely energized the crowd at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. She hit a signature, deep step-back three-pointer that sent the arena into absolute chaos. But it was not just her scoring that defined the night. She was playing a complete all-around game. She was aggressive on the defensive end, locking up Atlanta's guards, diving for loose balls, and commanding the glass. On offense, she was a maestro, finding her teammates in transition, dropping perfect jaw-dropping passes into tight windows, and setting up Kelsey Mitchell, who caught fire and helped fuel a devastating 8-0 run. Then came the moment that officially broke the internet and completely shattered the media's fake narrative. During a high-intensity timeout in the third quarter, as the Fever were putting the finishing touches on a massive scoring run, Clark walked toward the bench. She locked eyes with head coach Stephanie White. There was no tension, there was no anger. Instead, there was pure, unadulterated passion. The two of them met on the sideline and executed a massive, high-flying, aggressive chest bump that looked like it belonged on a football field. The crowd erupted. It was a clear, undeniable statement to the world. It was a moment of absolute unity, showing that the player and the coach were completely locked in, sharing the exact same fiery, competitive DNA. Clark would later joke about the chest bump, saying she might have actually hurt her coach, pointing out that Stephanie White has had a lot of surgeries and is a bit beat up. She laughed and said her mom was probably going to be mad at her for being so aggressive on the sideline, but she made it clear that she loves that fire. She said she would never want to play for a stoic, quiet coach. She wants that emotion, she wants that passion. And that is exactly what they showed the world. When the final buzzer sounded, the scoreboard read 83-71, a dominant, statement victory for the Indiana Fever. Clark finished the night with an incredible stat line: 17 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists. She had fought through an agonizing back injury, survived a violent halftime illness, and led her team to a crucial win. It was a performance that spoke volumes about her character and her sheer will to win. But the drama was not quite over. When Clark sat down at the microphone for her post-game press conference, her voice was noticeably raspy and a little hoarse from the physical toll of the night. The reporters immediately wanted to know about the halftime incident, the back pain, the chest bump, and of course the relentless media criticism of her body language and her relationship with her coach. Clark did not dodge a single question. She faced them with the same fearlessness she shows on the court. When asked about her competitive fire and her expressive body language, which some critics have tried to paint as a negative, Clark was incredibly mature and self-aware. She admitted that her body language is something she can always work on, and that she frequently looks back at film to reflect on how she carries herself. But she refused to apologize for her passion. She explained that her emotions are not always going to be pretty, and that sometimes they might even cross the line. But she made it clear that her intensity is a fundamental part of who she is as a competitor, as a teammate, and as a person. It is that exact same raw, unfiltered emotion that draws millions of fans to the arena to watch her play. They do not want to see a robot. They want to see a warrior who cares deeply about every single play. Then Clark turned her attention to the media and the critics who had been spending the entire week trying to tear her team apart. She did not hold back. She said she wanted to say something in the nicest way possible. But she hoped this performance would finally make a lot of people just be quiet. She acknowledged that there will always be endless conversation and analysis around her and the organization, and she respects that it comes with the territory. But she firmly declared that the sky is not falling. She called out the people who constantly make up fake stories about what goes on in their locker room, what her teammates think of her, or what her coaches think of her. She looked directly at the cameras and assured everyone that this group is deeply connected. They know they have a long way to go, and one good win does not mean they are satisfied. But the victory showed the true character of the people in that locker room. It showed a selfless, united team playing for each other, ignoring the noise, and finding a way to win. This game was so much more than just another entry in the win column for the Indiana Fever. It was a defining moment in Caitlin Clark's young professional career. It showed that she cannot be broken. Not by physical pain, not by a sudden violent illness, and certainly not by the endless loud noise of the media machine. When the odds were stacked against her, when her body was failing her, and when the critics were waiting for her to fall, she stood tall, found a trash can, reset her system, and walked back out onto the floor to deliver a masterpiece. It proved to everyone that no matter what you throw at Caitlin Clark, she will always find a way to rise above it. leaving her opponents, her critics, and everyone else completely in her dust.